views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hi, I'm Ben Spearman, Bronx Opera's General Director, and I'm here to welcome you to our 2013 production of Rossini's La Gazza Ladra, known in English as The Thieving or Stealing Magpie. This is the story of the bird that stole the silver with some help. The young servant girl Ninetta is accused of the theft, in part because she refuses to give in to the advances of the predatory mayor or podestà. Her father, Fernando, is also accused of desertion, compounding the family's problems since both crimes, desertion and theft, are punished with the death penalty. There really is no better Rossini than the Rossini of La Gazza Ladra, as this great composer shows his range from the famous overture to music that expresses wacky comedy, tense relationship-related ensembles, guilt, and near martyrdom. Our cast for this performance was led by Jennifer Moore as Ninetta, Jason Coffey as her father Fernando, and David Morrow as the podestà. We also featured Isaac Greer, Kerry Gottschall, Luke Grooms, Sarah Fanucchi, Leslie Tay, Ivan Amaro, Vincent Grana, and Rishi Rain. The director was Ben Spearman, the scenery was by Jim Howard, costumes were by Joan Greenhut and Maureen Klein, and the lighting was by Richard Curtis. This performance was conducted by Michael Spearman on January 13th, 2013. And now we take you back to that date, to the Lovinger Theater, and to Bronx Opera's production of Rossini's La Gazza Ladra.
wonderful Ninetta. Have you picked all your strawberries?
Yes, I found enough to fill this whole basket. Look at them.
They're lovely, and as sweet as you yourself. Listen, my dearest, because today is special, I want the air to sing with pleasure, contentment, affection.
Oh, yes, I hope so. For your son's sake.
Ah, yes, my son's sake. I know you like him. Perfect.
What are you saying?
Be happy. Don't be so bashful. My son keeps nothing hidden from his father. Why should he? He loves you, and when it comes to me, I don't blame him.
Oh, I'm so happy.
Quiet. Here comes Lucia.
Kindness, Fabrizio. How touching. And you, how can you be so stupid? There, take care of my silver, and make quite certain that you lose nothing further. No, no, for I would rather die than fail again in my duty. Typical excuses, for we all know that a fork has vanished somewhere. I didn't lose it, all the same.
Lucia, let's go now.
Yes, let's be going.
Goodbye, my dear Ninetta.
Why all this fond affection? Since when have servants to be treated with such a show of kindness?
No crying, I implore you. God, give me patience.
Shoelaces, needles, combs and scissors, pearly pen knives and pillowcases, ribbons, silver combs and patches, yes, and quickly striking matches. Everyone's welcome, come out and buy, barter or trade with me, now don't be shy. Come out and buy, barter or trade with me, now don't be shy. Barter or trade with me, now don't be shy. Matches and faces.
I knew it. It's only so. Yet moving, Mr. Peddler. You can spare us the delights of your city. This morning we've got no money left to give you.
I'm buying and I'm selling, I'll bargain if you want. But just look at what I have here, at only bargain prices. Everything shining, in perfect mint condition.
Get moving once again, sir.
Give my best regards to Signora Ninetta. If she needs me, that is for any reason. If I can help her, tell her that I'll be staying down in the village at the Albergo Nuovo.
Bravo!
You've not said a word about my dear uncle. Is he?
Oh, he's not awful, but very gouty.
Do we have a moment? Could we go see him? Arrivederci. Ninetta.
Yes, but come back home quickly. Come here, kiss me goodbye, sweet. Addio, my darling. God, how I love him. It's time to count the silver. I love him, yes, I love him so dearly.
Maybe I found it.
Nothing is missing.
Good heaven, my daughter, oh thank heaven I have found her. Ah, if I only were not bringing her trouble.
My goodness, who is that? He looks unhappy. Tell me, how can I help you?
Oh, my sweetheart, my daughter.
Oh, dearest father.
Quiet, I can't be seen.
Tell me what happened.
Just listen, it is awful. Yesterday, at just about 6:30, I arrived in Paris with my squadron. Right away, I went right to the captain to let me go visit you. Meanly, and with malice, he refused me. I answered with anger, demanded a good reason. You shut up now, he shouted. He drew his sword and then he slapped me. By that time I was blinded by rage. So I attacked him. Sun fighting and clash of swords resounded. Then quickly we were surrounded and then some soldiers disarmed us both and restrained me.
But father, then what happened?
It hurts to tell you, I was in prison. Then they condemned me to death. Soon my friends engineered my escape. My friend Ernesto gave me this clothing to disguise me, and then he took me to a nearby small village. He embraced me, both crying, then he told me, "Go find your daughter and hurry. I'll see if I can help you. Goodbye now." closely. There is something I must tell you. When your mother will have you all to myself. Yes, 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 all to myself. I'll see you smiling, that lovely face will smile for me. You'll have an ecstasy of sweet emotion, and you'll reveal to me your deep devotion. Infatuated, invigorated, rejuvenated, by nothing later, I'll have my way. What joy awaits me in this very day, awaits me in this very day, awaits me in this very day. This very day. This very day. Ah, yes, Ninetta, soon I will have you all to myself. Yes, 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 all to myself. All to myself, your lovely face will smile for me. Invigorated, rejuvenated, I'll have my way, I'll have my way. Infatuated, my love elated, I'll have my way, I'll have my way. What joy awaits me here, what joy awaits me here, what joy awaits me here this very day. Ah, yes, what joy awaits me here this very day, this very day, this very day, this very day, this very day.
One glass of wine now. This will give you the strength to go on your way.
Good morning, lovely young lady.
Sir, your servant,
Now tell me, who is that stranger?
just a poor old traveler. I decided to help him.
And you've given him some wine, so lovely, generous. You know, my darling, I'm also thirsty.
Right away, I'll serve you.
Don't go, the thirst I'm feeling is not sated by wine.
Do you want water?
I think you understand.
Excuse me. My friend, do you feel any better? Pretend that you are sleeping. So did you come here to say hi to Gioachino?
That's why I came here, to see him, congratulate him.
You just missed him. They will all be back later.
That does not matter. As long as you're here, I'm happy. But that vagrant, he's been here long enough. Get out of here!
Just look, sir. He seems exhausted. He's fast asleep. You see that?
You're a good dog, and I'll let you lie there. You've no idea, my darling, with what impatience I've waited to find you all alone here.
Come on, sir. Come on, sir. You are fooling with me.
Oh, my Ninetta, your shyness is so lovely. Now answer, my little beauty.
The Chancellor Gregorio sent me to find you.
But Giorgio, you see I'm busy.
Here's a letter that's urgent, addressed to you, sir.
Tell me who brought it.
Oh, so dear.
A soldier. Giorgio, bring me that chair, please. I wonder what it says. Be on your way now.
Oh, did you hear that, dear father? I'm frightened. Escape while he's reading. You must hurry.
How can I, Ninetta? I've no money at all.
Oh, heavens, and I've no money either.
Well then, take these 2 pieces of silver. I keep them with me in memory of your dear mother. Take them, I beg you, and sell them both by nightfall. Let no one see you. Out on a hillside, I saw a towering chestnut with a little hollow in the trunk. Do you know it?
Yes, I remember.
Can you leave any money you're able to bring me?
But go now.
Wish me luck now, embrace me. Ninetta!
Heaven help us.
Don't go yet. It's seems that this is the description of a deserter, a dangerous man. Fernando is his name. My luck is fading. I came here without my glasses. Thanks to vanity, I can't read it. Ninetta, please be so kind as to read it for me.
May heaven neither kill me this moment, or save my father. Pardon my haste, but this is urgent. This concerns one of my soldiers. He is under sentence of death and has escaped from prison. His name is...
Continue.
No, I have to think quickly. Can I rescue my father?
Look how she's blushing. It makes her still more lovely.
His name is Fernando Vinella.
Please continue.
Oh heavens, if I keep reading, my father is finished. His age, just under 50. His height is 5 feet 7.
Come on, what's wrong now? Did you forget how to read? More, Ninetta.
It is almost illegible.
Oh, go and get my glasses.
I can read it. Age, 27. Height, 6 feet 3 inches.
A pity. Read all the details.
Fair complexion, black eyes, high forehead, handsome.
Amazing. Sounds like this man is a real Adonis. Black eyes, high forehead. Is that all?
Yellow uniform with scarlet facings, white leather boots. If ever he appears in your area, take him into custody at once.
Oh, I will catch him. Let's see if just by chance now. Come on, wake up there.
Oh,
Sir, stand up for me. And now take off your hat.
God help us.
Age 27, was that right? A fair complexion, black eyes, handsome, perfect features. He's young and handsome. Such a handsome young man. He is not you, sir.
Thank heaven.
My sweetheart. Get moving. You heard me. Get going. Get out of my sight. Oh, Father in heaven, arise, righteous defender, look down, give us justice. Oh, help me, I pray. Don't desperately for vengeance, like a storm with awful thunder. Very soon the storm will break. I can feel my blood is boiling.
I can feel my blood is boiling.
I can feel my blood is boiling and the desperate need for vengeance. I can feel a desperate need for vengeance. Like a storm with awful thunder, very soon the storm will break. I can feel my blood is boiling and a desperate need for vengeance. Very soon the storm will break. I can feel my blood is boiling and a desperate need for vengeance. Like a storm with awful thunder, very soon the storm will break.
But I have to call my anger, I must hide it from my heart. But I have to call my anger, I must hide it from my heart.
Will break. There's no need to be so angry. Come with me, I'll calm you down. You're the mayor. How disgusting. Yes, disgusting. You have no honor for your age, sir, and your position. Have you left no sense of shame? I have seen you quite enough, sir, and you haven't any shame. You have age in your position, but you haven't any shame. You have age in your position, but you haven't any shame. No, you haven't any shame. No, you have no sense of shame. No sense of shame. What the hell shall we say? Mind your business. Keep your voice down.
signorina.
My friend, I need to sell these 2 small pieces.
And I will buy them.
What will you give me?
Not very heavy. It's a favor. 2 scudi.
That's not enough. Not even a quarter of the value.
Honey, don't get upset with the bargaining. I'll make it 7 just because I like you.
Not enough?
You know that you are really quite a haggler. If I said 11, would you then be more smiley?
I guess so. Maybe.
That's 5, 6, 11. There you go. You're a swindler. There wasn't even 40.
Move on now. Not a word to a soul.
Trust me completely.
My poor unhappy father. I have to ask you, why do you even talk to him and bring him in? He's disgusting, and he smells bad because I quickly needed money. I heard him, so I sold him. Oh, I hear you. Some silly little thing. Yes, some little silly thing, which right now I don't need. Oh, it makes perfect sense, but you could have asked me. That's nice of you, but to leave me be. I'm tired, and there's still so much to do. I'm also busy. There's so many things to do still, and I'm exhausted. I have to go. I have to hide this little money out in the tree. How I wish I were with you and could have you, dearest father. Oh, what are you doing? No leaving, no going. You're ignoring my orders. I'm sorry. I guess I'll have to go much later. Gentlemen, your prompt attention. Here's Janetta, who's made us so proud.
It's good to see you. I've read of all your exploits. Your name was in the papers. I read the story of how you carry in your hand the banner of our dear country after losing 2 horses shot from beneath you. Such bravery and such youth.
Sir, I am not worthy of all this praise.
Bravo! How do you like him?
That's 9 and 10. 11. So stupid. Yet again we are missing yet more silver. Really? Yes, missing silver. You can count them for yourself. It's always something. Now a spoon has gone missing, and the other day, last Thursday, it was a fork. I swear it's disgraceful.
Your anger certainly called for. There are thieves here among us. Let us pursue them. Have a trial. Giorgio. I'll have no trials, not here in my house. Ninetta.
She's right, though. 1 is missing, 2 missing, and yet, believe me, they were here. What has happened?
Now, don't cry, my dear. I'm sure we'll find it.
Before, I need your help. Please take a look out there in the kitchen. We are looking for some silver.
I am quite certain that he'll find nothing there.
Come now, I'm sure we'll find it. I want to make her scared and at my mercy. Bring me pen, ink, and paper.
I'll see to it at once, sir.
But I told you I don't want any trials.
Be quiet, stupid. For the guiltless there's no danger. As for the culprit, when they're discovered, they will be punished.
For something of so little importance.
But in such cases, the statute is quite specific. Stealing servants are treated with no mercy. They're put to death. But who out of all my good people could ever possibly do this?
A thief among us? Who could it be?
Never. You two, now you accuse me.
Oh, sweetheart, you cried.
The bird, I cannot take it.
Do not worry, nobody's listening.
I ask you, no, I beg you, don't do this. Don't condemn her. I have to.
What?
Be quiet, sir. We are all ready. objects were stolen.
Not stolen, no. Misplaced.
Quiet! It's all semantics. It makes no difference. It makes no difference. May we proceed now? Was stolen. You write that clearly. First a spoon made of silver, a thing for eating soup.
How awful and pretentious.
How awful and pretentious.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know what to say.
How awful and pretentious, I don't know what to say.
How awful and
Pretentious,
pretentious.
I don't know what to say. And your father, what's his name, please? Well,
He's Fernando Villabello.
Villabella, do you hear that? Now I see that you are lying and that bag was your father. Yes, that scalp was your father. Let me warn you that my men track him down and ride away. Oh, yes, my men will track him down this very day. Let me warn you that my men will track him down and ride away. Oh, yes, my men will track him down this very day.
What just happened?
Oh, nothing, nothing, just an innocent young girl who wants to fool us with her lies.
I can't run for heaven. I can't run for heaven. What's the source of all that money? It's mine, signora. I swear.
Quickly, 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 record that. Isacco, what did he pay her for? He sold him this or that, you say? Like what? You're caught in your own trap.
No more, sir. Tell the truth, love. Please, just tell us.
You're shaking. Nervous. No, signora.
There's nothing going to happen. You cannot get away.
I can't hold out much longer.
I know that he has wronged
What
her.
will become of me?
Unfair as it can be.
I can't wait much longer. What will become of me?
I know that he has bring in his own
Now hand over all that money.
Take the money, or someone please help me.
Give this to the tax collector.
It's too much, no more, no more. It's too much, no more, no more. I can't take it anymore.
When you see how I'll reward you for this morning, now I know that you'll regret the thing you said. And my crime is the warning that you really should have made me, or I swear I'll have your head.
She's a fine,
She's afraid my
my
head
head
is
is
sorry,
sorry, and my heart
and my
is
head is
so
full of
much
dread.
dread.
She is sorry for it, she is sorry for it, and we rest the things she said. She is sorry for it, she is
Yes, I'm afraid.
She said. She said.
Yes, I'm afraid.
She said.
I'm really
Hello and welcome back to the Bronx Opera on BronxNet, an intermission of La Gazza Ladra, the Thieving Magpie. With me today is Scott Schneider, Bronx Opera's production manager, and the man who, I guess you would say, Scott, you and I collaborated on the title character of La Gazza Ladra, the actual bird itself. But first of all, hello.
Hi, how are you?
And Scott is demonstrating how virtual backgrounds can be an adventure.
Right, exactly.
His head is not in fact flat. There it is, the full. I don't know that I've ever seen Scott without a hat before.
Exactly.
But anyway, so Scott, first of all, tell us how long you've been in Bronx Opera and how you came to Bronx Opera and anything else in that vein that you find interesting when you think about it.
I try to lose count, so I'm going to say 15 years. Let's say maybe it's about 15 years.
That's a good guess, I think. Yeah,
it's a good guess. I came because you guys ran an ad on Playbill Online, I think.
We did, yeah.
And I responded to it because it sounded was just enough money for just about the right time, the just circumstances, and I asked around a little bit. I spoke to Bill Jones, was in with the opera world, and some other stage managers, and they all thought worthwhile, and that worthwhile company in particular, and they thought that you and I would actually particularly might have a good rapport. And my resume managed to make the cut, and you and I met in the bowels of Penn Station before it was renovated, but still much nicer than it is right now. And
we did. We met in, I think, in the Starbucks, at one of the Starbucks in Penn Station.
I think so. It was the Starbucks. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then I think we had another meeting at the Starbucks near Lincoln Center, which was like my office for a day. As I saw you, we had really terrific candidates, and we're so grateful that we got Scott. I can't even.
Oh, thank you.
Scott is really the person who, in addition to actually getting together what you see on the stage, or lately what you've seen on screen for us in terms of their virtual work, but also is in charge relatedly of budgeting those things, working with our treasurer comptroller Manny Nadelman to really make us able to afford to do the things that we do, which is not easy.
Well, I have to say though, it became because you had someone like Manny who was, for an arts organization, understood all the arts, but was so professional in terms of business management, and laid things out in a way that made it a lot easier for me to do things, made it a lot easier to work on budget, and, could be very understanding about this. So it's like, that's a big asset. I don't think every organization probably should have someone who worked in the business world and also has a big love of the arts. And that was always a huge help for that kind of process.
Yeah, and I know that you and Manny work very well together, and I think that you and I have always worked well. You and my dad too. It's a really great relationship, and you're really a member of the family, in literally, and well, not literally, but almost literally, figuratively for sure by this point. Even though you're a Met fan.
We just scored, I think. I heard a score.
You see,
it can happen once in a while.
We give good luck.
Miracles can happen.
So we talking about La Gazza Ladra. Whenever these shows come up, one of the things that whoever directs, in this case it was me or Rod or whoever, look at is what's the problem? What is the thing that we're going to need to figure out? And in the case of La Gazza Ladra, it's the plot really is written that the bird actually steals the silver, and Ninetta is accused of stealing it, but she's innocent, and she's almost executed, and then at the end, she ends up being okay. I think I might have just done a spoiler here, but I don't care. So we tried to figure out what to do, and I'm just curious, Scott, what do you remember about how all of that started, the figuring out of what we were going to do?
So, there were two things. It was in terms of most of the set design conception, you had a very clear, clean aesthetic you wanted that was really based on sharp edges and contrasts of black and whites, and a use of soft goods that was different. We had talked about the use of soft goods as the inspiration for what you wanted to impart to McGann, but we were taking away from Ken passed away.
Right, Ken Ross, who was the technical director at Lehman. And for those of you who know about Lehman, he's Chris Higgins' successor, I guess, once removed.
Yeah.
And McGann George, who had designed for us a lot, unfortunately, has also passed away. That was, God, was that 2 years ago? That was two summers ago, I think it was.
Yeah, I think 2019.
When we lost
sure.
McGann. But so, and the design was kind of something you and I came up with McGann's help. But then we had to figure out the bird.
Well, no. So I was going to say, so when you talk to a Magic Flute about soft goods, it was very soft. It was a very Ken world and all that. And you had a very clear, very different conception with the Gazza Ladra. It was much more straight edge. It was really no foofiness to it, you know. And we did turn to her for some advice, but you had really worked out, and we went back and forth, but you worked out a lot of the the edges and the soft goods. So it became, but you came and said earlier is the problem with the bird. And then also, but it really became what I was thinking about today. So we always talk about the issues with making the bird fly and making the bird run across the stage and pick up something, maybe not, do something, run across the stage towards the end of the opera. But what I was thinking about today was that was really the establishment of the bird. Even though we wound up we needed to go with the same gimmick, but it was once you went to this pared down aesthetic, the bird cage was actually a major scenic element. You know, we had to spend some time sourcing, like finding the right bird cage. So I was, then I, assembled it in my room, and that ties in very much with the whole issues with the bird. So what are we going to do about getting some bird who does things? So, and I'll come back to the bird cage in a second and tie that in. But, well, we said, well, what about an animatronic bird? Like, sure, Disney, you go to Disney World, we see all those animatronic. How much could an animatronic animal cost? We don't know. We've never priced one before. So I sent, I think this, I sent an email to this company. I sent that does that. I'm like, how much does it cost? And well, how much money do you have? I don't know. We're thinking, Bronx Opera, we spend some money on some big effects, but we're not a big budget company. I'm like, I don't know. Let's talk $500. What does that do? And he's like, well, go glue some styrofoam together. I'm like, well, that seems rude. You could have just given me a number, told me what one is. We don't know. We've never done it before. So then we were looking. I guess we had talked about drones, and I think I thought it was you or Hannah came across the description of those flying birds.
Yeah, we looked. Hannah and I looked online and found these birds that would supposedly radio controlled birds that would supposedly fly.
Right.
And we ordered one, and I remember this. We had one flying around our apartment here.
Great.
And it first of all, it's gonna knock out someone's eye if you're not careful, because radio controlled is not quite accurate. It's
so loose. We all had in mind something like the high, you see everybody now, and this is close coming into 5 to 7, 10 years ago, but but you can see people controlling high-end, even medium-end drones. This was not that sort of.
I'm remembering, in fact, I just forgot until this moment that when I got a new phone, I can't remember if it was my first iPhone or it was a Droid. I think it was my first Droid, that they sold a helicopter.
Right.
That was controllable with your phone, on an app on your phone. Yeah. And so I thought, well, this is the example of what this will be. So I got the helicopter. Yeah. And you could control it, but the radio waves were very delicate. And if you had the wrong other wave, the thing would just crash. Or you had to be very delicate on the pad, because if you you could fly it into anything. And then of course you would break it because it wasn't the strongest piece of equipment. And then we went to trying to get this radio controlled bird. It's this little styrofoam bird. It was it was like a very, very weak paper airplane, except it looked like a bird.
Right.
And we got one, and it sort of worked for a minute, and then it stopped working. We ended up having gotten like 4 of them, so we sort of ended up
became more. Honestly, it was more like 7 or 8 until because I started ordering more and more backups.
Right, and so we had one in the cage that could just flap.
And that was the thing I went back. I'll hit back onto, and then we can go forward more on the flying birds. So we knew that we needed to we could do whatever. We're going to try to make this bird do something towards the end, but we need to establish the bird in the bird cage.
Right.
Like that needs to be established. Else it's not going to make whatever we do is going to be less than nothing. And plus the bird has have to has to speak, basically.
Right. Exactly.
And has to speak words spoken by an opera singer, in fact, correctly. So I started mocking up. I got the slightly damaged bird.
They were all damaged ultimately.
Yeah, well, they all had their own peculiarities.
A question of how badly or how weirdly they flew. I remember flying one around the Levenger Theater, and it went across the stage beautifully, and then it turned left on its own, went all the way up to the top, and then sort of just fell into one of the seats when it got out of range. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, the remote controls were also. It turned out that the birds themselves were sort of variable, and then the remote controls were sort of variable. The remote controls, is cheap technology. Some of them, they all did something, but they all didn't do the same thing in the same way. So I spent a lot of time once I built the bird cage trying to figure out how I could detach the bird to the perch in such a way that it could stand there and receive its remote control instructions and flap its wings and light up, which we'll get back to in a moment, and then also be able to rebuild the bottom of the cage because we needed to control. We needed to hide a remote speaker in there.
Right.
Because
and Hannah, my wife, was the assistant stage manager, eventually stage manager of the Manhattan performances, and she did the voice of the bird.
Right.
She was when the people, that was all Hannah through the speaker that was hidden in the bird cage. And so she would say it, and then the assistant stage manager would activate the remote, and the thing would flap, and we had to make sure that the thing didn't fall off, or that the flapping wasn't so strong that the bird would start to fly within the cage.
That was all that. And these things were all built so they were toys, so that their eyes were built so they would light up, which I heard. I know people who liked it. I heard some criticism from some people who were like, well, that was silly. Why would the bird's eyes light up? And I'm like, well, because we've got a full stage and, we'd like to look over there when the bird is seeing something. So I actually kind of thought that worked. That worked really well, and that was a super elaborate scene, actually.
Yeah, it's a very. I mean, the folks who are watching it, can see it. It's actually it's a very extensive opera. This is not the Rossini of Barbara Seville and Cenerentola, although those are complicated operas. But this one just has so many more moving parts, and is both comic and tragic. And in the middle of all of that, you need to have this bird. And so what ended up happening was that I put myself in the show, and I played this servant who was using the bird, who was sort of the bird's keeper.
Yeah,
fed the bird and was sort of I would use the bird's exclamations as a distraction to actually steal the silver.
Long upstage movements. Watch for Mr. Spearman.
Slow, yes. I love the slow cross, and in this case, I gave them to myself. But I remember in one of the performances downtown that we had done this very complicated thing near the end, and I won't totally spoil it, but that the bird I was carrying the bird, and the bird had was it fish wire? Fish?
Yeah, we had figured
fishing
out
wire?
so because the flying mechanisms, were not the precise drones that we wanted, and we did find one of our props people, an intern at the Chloe, was actually very, very good at flying them. It was like somebody there was like
Right, she was
somebody
very
just
good,
like just very good at flying them.
She was
So we
the
could
bird watcher, the
yes,
bird whisperer.
the
Sorry,
whisperer.
yes.
But so we could sort of give them the direction, but it turned out it really needed to be rigged in sort of like we used fishing line and a reel because it could move quickly through a pulley system to sort of keep it sort of where it wanted to go, vaguely, and we could sort of make it across the stage in the air most of the time, which turned out a bigger accomplishment than we would have thought.
One place where we had the bird actually fly, but the flying was I held it, and then I would sort of toss it up, and Chloe or maybe that might have been you actually sometimes would be pulling it on the other end.
I was pulling the line. Yeah.
She's flying it. She's using the remote, the little broken remote, and you're pulling it, and it's fishing line. And there was one performance where the fishing line broke off of the bird, and I tossed it, and it went up, and then down, and bounced off the stage, and I think it went through the hair of the mezzo. So that was. We don't have video of those hunter performances, which I wish we did, because that was really
great. That ranks up there with
it ranks up there with some things that we hopefully will be able to get on to BronxNet at some point.
Right, and some of those the experiments we did with the bird, we never would have meant to have anybody have seen, but some of those we were flying them in the I wish we had some tape of flying it in the House of Liam. We got it to do big circles in the house, but it's got to do like really big circles. It turns out it's not really meant for a stage.
If you want to fly it 10, 15 very precise feet to a target, that ain't happening.
No.
If you want to fly it from your hand to like a target 50 feet wide and 50 feet tall, you might be able to make that work.
Right.
But maybe not.
I have to say, though, the other technical challenge, because I went back and because I was thinking about the birdcage at the top, though, was also something unusual for us was just speccing the right remote speaker.
Right.
To be able to do like if we do audio normally, I mean, besides all the virtual stuff we've been doing, where we're become, dealing with recording engineers and all that stuff. Normally, our audio is God mic, a playback of a gunshot.
Very basic kind of stuff.
Very, very basic things. And this
you hit play, there's speakers, boom, it goes.
Yeah, boom. We're not miking people. If there's any house reinforcement, Hunter, I believe they would do some house reinforcement subtly with their own house systems, but in the recording, but it was nothing that we would ever be aware with. So it was a little bit unusual for us to be needing to spec something that was
Is it just the two of you?
No. A friend just wants to know if it was just you and I speaking, if we're talking to the whole wide world, and we're talking.
We will be talking to the whole wide world at some point.
So it was unusual for us to spec something and deal with something that needed to be high fidelity,
right?
First of all, because that's not really normally like. The singers' voices and the orchestra are the high fidelity, and also remote and also small enough to fit under a bird cage. And I was very pleased. She's still, like everybody else, my parent, like my biggest audience are my parents, or like many of us. So when they turned, they're like, well, that was Hannah's the bird, wasn't it? I was like, yes. I was like, if you understood that it was her voice, then we did our job on that element.
So this is just to say, Gazza Ladra was complicated in a lot of ways, with a lot of really, really marvelous singing and a very challenging orchestral part, which our orchestra did its usual marvelous job on, and terrific singing, acting, but boy, that bird was. The bird took up a lot of energy and a lot of time. And looking back at it, I'm pretty grateful. But boy, I'll tell you, it was not simple.
I was like, there were hours and hours when we're still way in the proto stages where I was like temporarily rigging things in the lobby upstairs and
Right.
leave them to the couch and to the lights there, like just
Right.
stringing air cables to see what happened. What happens if you put the bird here and throw it up on a gable?
Right.
Unfortunately, we cleaned it all away, and they seemed okay with it.
Yeah. Anyway, Scott, I want to thank you for coming
Sure.
on and
I love
reminiscing
talking
about
about
the bird. And we'll thanks for watching, everybody. And we will now send you back to the next act of Gazza Ladra.
Oh, enjoy.
They shudder in that dark and dismal prison. Oh, weep, and still she's crying. I can't imagine what the poor girl has done. She's so kind and so good. Maybe there's something I can do to cheer her up, to ease the burden a bit. Hey, Miss Inetta!
Who's that?
No, please don't worry. It's Antonio. Won't you come out here with me? The least I can do is to allow you some daylight and some fresh air.
Believe me, I am grateful. Tell me, do you know Pimple?
The servant.
Exactly. Would you do me a favor? Do you think you could ask him to come and see me here?
I can't promise. We'll see. It won't be easy. Who is there?
Come, let me in. I'm begging you. Please let me in.
That's impossible.
Oh, please just let me see him.
Who could resist this unfortunate girl? Keep back there. And really, what's the harm? Tell no one, Gianetto. You didn't have to.
You came to see me. I thought you'd left me alone, abandoned and quite deserted.
You thought I'd left you. Oh, heavens, it's you who show no faith in me. I'm sorry, my love. Forgive me, I don't believe it. However, if you love me and trust me, you must tell me your secret, help me defend you, and save me from this doubting. Open your heart, tell me, and let me help you.
I am not guilty.
Explain to me, Netta, why you say nothing.
'Cause there's nothing that I could say in my defense.
Oh, my Netta, tomorrow you will be sentenced. The podesta's relentless, you are already condemned. All that is left is for the public declaiming. If you keep silent, if you are so determined on keeping your secret.
They condemn me to death. I know. Don't say it.
again. Oh God in heaven, or else we pass about a lady dying.
Lucia, make sure no one can hear us. Where is Ninetta?
Ninetta, you must leave here.
Why see you cry?
There's no way I can tell you.
You are frightening me. There was no money inside the old tree. I feel it. Something has happened. Awful thought. Tell me the truth, and tell me quickly.
Yes, I will tell you. She's arrested for stealing.
Who? My daughter?
Your daughter.
Never. It can't be true. Continue.
The judges are in session, and perhaps at this moment she has been sentenced.
Oh, God in heaven! My daughter. She's arrested for stealing. How disgraceful! She's arrested for stealing. How disgraceful! My daughter of her sentenced. I am blinded by fear and confusion. Blinded by fear and by bitter despair. Blinded by fear and confusion. Blinded by fear and by bitter despair. Blinded by fear and by bitter despair. Kill her. We must see her. We must go and see her. Yes, but now I am helpless. What to do now? What to do now? If they see me, I'm finished. My freedom and life will be finished. If I hide here and my daughter, I fail her. This is torture. If they leave me, I will kill her. If they hide me, I am dead. I must see her. I am helpless. I am gone now. What to do now? I must see her. I must help her. I must hide her. I must help her. I must help her. They will kill her. I must help her. Help my daughter, they will kill her. But I am a soldier, and I am a father. My courage, my spirit, ignore me, the danger, defy me, I laugh at death. I will save my daughter, I'll go to her and set her free. I will save my daughter, I will set her free. For I am a soldier, and I am a father. I will save my daughter, my daughter, my daughter. I will save my daughter, I'll save her and I'll set her free. My courage and spirit will help set her free. My courage and spirit will help set her free. I will save Ninetta, I'll save her, The judges have found her guilty.
What justice? Can you allow this?
Silence! You must be careful. Bring in the prisoner. And you will draft the sentence. sentence is decided. Place your trust now in God. And now, the sentence. Wherein the girl named Ninetta Villavella stands convicted of theft from her employers.
In pursuance of the laws here at present in force, the Grand Tribunal, by a unanimous vote, this day condemns her to death by public execution.
God protect her. God protect her.
I can hear the moaning winds of Wait a moment, wait in here. I am sure she is not guilty. There's a secret she will not tell us, and I know that if you set her free, if you know you'll set her free, there's a secret will set her free.
The secret. All right, tell us.
Do not ask me, do not ask me, I won't answer.
Tell us something.
I remember to my soul.
Things are out of my control. This will break my heart and soul.
She says nothing.
You take her. You take
Release her.
Here, Father.
Villa Bella. Villa Bella. I have come to save my daughter. I have come to save my daughter. Take my life, let her be free. This man is a deserter, the one I have been seeking. This man is a deserter, the one I have been seeking. Here's his description. And with it, the order for this man's arrest is there for you to read. The order for this man's arrest is there for you to read. The order for this man's arrest is there for you to read. I came to surrender. Condemn me for my crimes. Take me and spare my daughter. For I know that she is innocent. Oh, she won't say a word. I beg you, spare my daughter. Oh, she is innocent, she's innocent. Oh, she won't say a word. I beg you, spare my daughter, for she is innocent. I swear that she is innocent.
Dearest father, this was useless. I decided to protect you. I could have saved you if you had let me.
His people, oh Fabrizio, someone to help me. I have to find Fernando. I have great news to bring him. He'll be so happy to see me and to hear from me. His old friend Ernesto. And even more when he has heard what I'll tell him. Ah, heaven bless you, oh most wonderful king. Young man there, please tell me something. Where is the house of the Podesta?
You want to see him? That's easy. Down there, past the pink villa, there is an archway. The first gate? No, it's the second. Right there on the left.
And also, where is Fabrizio's?
His house is much closer over there. It's right around the corner.
Thank you.
Now that I've put the money in the trunk of the tree, it's time to see what is left in here for me. Why do
about me.
That stupid, silly mankind.
That youngster has to fast. I think they lost me. wind and tempests are over. Love and love has brought us at last to a friendly shore. In happiness and gladness, we live in one beat the sun, yes, is shining. The wind and the tempests are over. Friendship and love have they brought us, yes, brought us at last to a friendly, friendly shore. In happiness and gladness, we live in fear of coldly the wind is blowing, for them all the tempests are over. They all have reached a friendly shore.